Working together with patients, families, and communities in health research is becoming increasingly important. Patient, family, and community engagement can help to enhance the quality and impact of studies on many levels, from ensuring that priorities that matter most to patients are being researched, to providing context and nuanced understanding during data analysis, to sharing research results in creative ways that can help to reach the people that the research affects most. How can we work together in research in an authentic and meaningful way? This is episode 17 of Pep Talks, the Patient Engagement Podcast. In this episode, recorded in the summer of 2020, we speak with Heather Thiessen, who is a director with Healthcare Excellence Canada, a patient partner with Health Standards Organization, and the past co-chair with the Saskatchewan Health Authority. Heather shares her experiences of working together in patient-oriented research throughout all stages of the research cycle. Paul Ferry first asked Heather about how she first got involved in the world of patient engagement and patient-oriented research.
Well, I'm a chronically ill patient, so I deal with two chronic neurological conditions, multiple sclerosis and myasthenia gravis, which is the double whammy. And I've seen a lot of in and out of healthcare. So I was diagnosed with the MS when I was like 20, just starting on my career journey. I wanted to be in nursing. Of course, that didn't work out. And I was in and out of hospital with that, and then got married and life kind of settled. And then when my youngest was, or my oldest was born, I kept going into respiratory failure, and that sent me on a whole new journey in and out of the ICU units. And then when my youngest was about 9 months old, I was diagnosed with the myasthenia gravis. And, we had hope for the first time because they thought, you'll probably go into remission if we do this thymectomy on you, and you'll have a relatively normal life. And I thought, great, got two young kids. They need a mom. And I thought I could go back to school. And unfortunately for me, that didn't work out. So I spent about 10-year period in and out of the hospital every 6 months. Anytime I would catch something for my beautiful little children, because I was immune compromised, and with the myasthenia, it affected my breathing muscles, the diaphragm, the worst. So I'd end up in ICU for 10 years. I would spend every 6 months being rushed to the hospital in respiratory failure, spend time in the hospital in ICU, recover, and then it was repeat. And so that's where I began to learn about the world of healthcare and how it was very complicated and complex. And being that I was in more of a system-centered healthcare system, because this was far before patients were really becoming partners in their care, I was often not included in conversations about me, and that frustrated me to no end. And my family were not included, and a lot of decisions were made about me without me. And often I would have some care providers who would bring me in, but it wasn't the norm. And then after the patient first review happened in Saskatchewan in about 2009, that document saved my life. Because that's when we really, from that patient first review, was when it became provincially mandated that we work in a patient and family centered way. And really, from those recommendations, it was about that whole inclusive part of listening to and partnering with patients and families and following that philosophy of patient-centered care. So respect and dignity, information sharing, participation, and collaboration. And, that was mind-blowing to me. And that's when conversations started changing. And that's when I became more actively involved as a patient advisor in the first part of it. And so for about 12 years, I've been partnering with healthcare systems to really help bring that lived experience expertise to those conversations and to help shape healthcare. And then I started learning about patient-oriented research. And, I'll be honest with you, I was a bit, I didn't know that was really going to be for me. I was a bit worried that, how would patients be authentically engaged in these opportunities. And but I have been involved. I've been brought into a couple of research projects and really been excited by this process and seeing how, the patients and families are part of the beginning and all the way woven through the whole process of it. And even, afterward in the presentation of what they have discovered in the whole research realm. So it's really been exciting to see. And it's just, it's like another notch that I'm kind of inching my way into. So, I'm still very passionate about the engagement piece, but I see that it just flows so naturally into patient-oriented research as well.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely sort of overlapping circles, for sure.
Absolutely.
So maybe, could you tell me maybe about some of the projects you've been involved in recently?
Well, sure. So I've been involved in a lot of creation ones for nursing because I
Mm.
have a love of nursing. Even though I never became a nurse, I do a lot of work with the College of Nursing.
Mm.
Unfortunately, our research projects were never accepted for funding, and we're
Okay.
not sure why.
Yeah.
And so then I got partnered with some people with the College of Medicine. Um, uh, Here at the University of Saskatchewan. So I'm presently involved in a rapid realist review, and that's really about. Um, so ours is a really interesting subject on to understand the how and the why that patient-oriented research works or does not work.
Yeah. Hmm.
And it's about creating a theory so that patient-oriented research can be used in the best way to help both patients and researchers work together to impact that healthcare system. So it's fascinating,
Hmm.
fascinating work here. And the other one I'm working on is a bit having to do with lower back pain and creating a prescription pad development to part of that choosing wisely initiative as well, and helping both the care provider and the patient have a tool, so we're not giving some unneeded tests, if not like so unwanted x-rays or
Mm.
MRIs if it really doesn't call for it. And part of something I didn't tell you early on is that I have
Hmm.
like 7 compression fractures in my back
Mm.
from chronic prednisone use to treat these lovely illnesses that I have. So I have chronic pain issues, and so I understand that. And I'm glad that we're doing a deeper dive and some look into this to ensure that we're giving the right care to patients at the right time and with the right tools, and avoiding unnecessary tests that they don't may or may not need.
Hmm.
So yeah, those are the two lovely projects that I'm currently involved in, along with everything else that I have a hard time saying no.
It's a problem for a lot of people.
It is a
Yeah.
problem. So, but I really, really enjoy this. And with the Rapid Realist Review, we were able to present at a shared decision-making conference last year, just our
Okay.
poster. And I really enjoyed that. And the researcher I was with, Dr. Tracy Carr, um, she was like, "You just take this, Heather." And so anyone who came to look at our poster, she was like, Heather's got this. So I was like, "Oh, great." But it was fascinating to see, I could keep up with the conversation, even
Hmm.
though like we haven't really, we just have our poster and we're still in the midst of our research, but we were just sharing what we've kind of the findings. And, I was able to keep up with that conversation, and that really spoke to how, as a team, we have worked together, and,
Hmm.
and how that trust is there, that they said, Heather, you know what you're talking about, and I'm here to support you. And that's empowerment. And I hate the word empowerment. It's one of my bad words, but that was in a very good way, that it really showed that, I was able to do this, and they trusted in me to do that. And
Hmm.
and it was really just an amazing opportunity and such a great experience. And, once our paper is published, and we're nearing that, but we've been really working collaboratively. So when we, come together and we review all the work and the findings that we've had, and the work on on the document itself. We really work on it together. So because there's 2 other patients on this research project with me, we've made it clear that, we're in this together. So don't do separate meetings for the patients, and let's do it all together, because it's about that collaborative spirit that we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds pretty awesome, to be honest.
It's pretty awesome. We'll have to come back. I'll have to come back and talk to you about when we find everything, right?
For sure, yeah.
Yeah, it'll be exciting.
So what do you think then, like, how do you view this role then of patient partners and patient advisors in health research projects?
Well, I think it's critical. It's the for so many years, the missing link in all healthcare improvement and now in research was that lived experience expertise that comes from patients and families. But that, we can hear about it or read about it, but unless you actually bring it in authentically to those conversations, that's so important, and that's what's going to make a difference and make it really viable. Mm-hmm. For those that are going to read the papers, and they're going to see that authenticity in the papers that they're going to read, and the research that's been done.
So what do you think then would be necessary to reach this sort of level of authenticity? Or sometimes people say, like, how do we make this meaningful as an activity?
Well, and it is about that meaningful engagement. And so I think it's being very clear on the role that the patient or family member is going to be in the research. And so, I know a lot of research uses the IP2 spectrum for engagement. Let's be really clear about, at what points we're going to be involving you in this. And so everybody's on the same page, and then there isn't that confusion. And if the patient says, I'm interested in sharing my stories or whatever, but that's it, then that's okay.
Yeah.
But if they want to be involved all the way through, then that's like bonus. But respecting that, and then allowing them to be vocal and share their thoughts, even if it may be different from the group. And that's, those healthy challenges per se. It's what's going to make it really meaningful, because you're allowing them to bring their thoughts and feelings to this work. And that's going to make it authentic, and it's going to be meaningful because they've been engaged in the whole process, or to the level that they choose. Yeah.
So one of the things that we do here at the Alberta SPORE patient engagement platform is give advice essentially to researchers who are thinking of engaging patients in research projects. So if you were helping us give this advice, what advice would you give to researchers who were thinking of working with patient partners?
Well, don't make assumptions, but also just be organic about the whole experience, and take the time. I've really been fortunate. When I meet with a research team, we meet for coffee and have a real great conversation where we get to know one another. We know, get to know like what's making us tick and why we're passionate about this. And so we're all on the same board, and that we are coming to this on equal play field. And that, so do that, make the time. And I know everyone is so busy, but I think when you actually slow down a little bit and make that time to make sure that the patient feels comfortable and is is feeling welcome, feeling valuable, and it's going to make a difference for this work that you're working on. That's what's going to make a difference for that patient or family member who's coming in. Yeah.
What about almost the flip side of the advice train here then? If someone was listening to this podcast episode and they were thinking of getting involved as a patient partner or patient advisor for the first time, what should they know?
Well, they should know it's a lot of work, but it's exciting work. And, you get to meet some fascinating people who, are very like-minded, and they can, share amazing articles to help deepen your understanding. And, connect you to different people as well. Like the people, like my connection network has grown substantially, and the amazing opportunities that I've gotten from just starting into this, like to be able to review different abstracts is fascinating, and to learn different phases in the whole research realm, right?
Mm-hmm.
But be ready for this. And if you're new to the whole advising world, because, when I started, there was one or two of us, and
Mm-hmm.
I was that patient who would knock. I
Mm-hmm.
often tell the story. I knocked on the Conference Board of Canada's door.
Hmm.
And it's like, I think you need to hear my story. And they were very kind, and they'd say, you know what, yeah, you make an interesting point on patient family-centered care. You should come. So they would bring me to their conference. I'd be the only patient there. That was intimidating. But boy, they allowed me to speak, and, slowly but surely, year after year, my audience got a bit bigger. So that was kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I had to be ready for that. I couldn't be in a place where I had just experienced everything that I had been through. I was able to process that whole experience, because, this would be for both patients and researchers that, when you're asking patients to retell their stories, they relive it. And sometimes you're not ready, and then you come and you get angry. And that's not the intent, that you want to come and be angry. So if you have been able to process all that and be good with it, and you've made your, peace with whatever has happened with you in the past, then you come in with that open heart and that spirit that you can help. So as a patient, you need to be ready for that, and not coming in that, well, I'm going to show them and just share this and then get mad. That's not going to be helpful for anybody. And as a researcher, to go back to your former question, you need to be aware and be looking for those signs of that they may not be quite ready to be involved in a research project, because they may be still having some personal issues with it. Because every time I share my story, I relive it a little bit. But I'm good with it, because I'm at peace with it. I've forgiven people who have caused me harm, and I've come to peace with whatever has happened. And I know that every time I do share my story, it's for the greater good of helping another patient or family member when they're entering into a journey into healthcare, that they will have an easier journey that I may have had. So I think patients and families really need to be aware of this. It's all fast and exciting. And I know when you first are an advisor and you're coming into this, you excited, you're being given a platform. But if you're not ready for it, it could be disastrous, and it could cause more harm than good.
Well, thanks so much for joining us on the podcast today.
Hey, well, I am always excited to be part of fun things like this. And I think it's exciting, and I'm really, really thankful for this opportunity. And I just think it's amazing to see the amount of work and how far we've come in so many years. Like it's a lot of years, but it's not a lot of years. Like the cell phone journey, right?
Yes.
We're deep into it now, but we're really short on our journey. And the same with patient engagement and patient-oriented research. Fascinating. And I think it's only going to make it better for those patients and families that have yet to enter into healthcare systems. So thank you for all you're doing as well.
And thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much for joining us for this episode of Pep Talks, the Patient Engagement Podcast. Brought to you by the Alberta Strategy for Patient-Oriented Research Patient Engagement Team. Special thanks to Paul Ferry, Sadia Ahmed, and Sandra Zielinski, and our summer students Sarah, Sydney, and Stella for their co-production. Make sure to subscribe to this podcast wherever you found it, and we hope you'll join us again for more interesting discussions about patient engagement in health research and healthcare.